On a quiet Tuesday night in Tulsa, Lena Carter, a 35-year-old interior designer, stood frozen in her living room as her phone buzzed. A new message glowed on the screen from her mother. "Don't call or come over. We're done." The words hit like ice. She read them twice, then a third time, hoping she'd misunderstood. But there was no mistake. After years of paying her mother's medical bills, helping her father's restaurants, and bailing out her younger brother, this was how it ended. Lena typed two simple words: "Got it." Then she put the phone face down on the table and whispered to herself, "That's enough." Where are you watching from today? Kindly hit like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more. Her phone started buzzing again within minutes. Then, one missed call after another. The messages rolled in. "Pick up. We need to talk. Don't do this." Lena just stared at the screen until it went dark. She knew why they were panicking. For years she had been the one keeping their world from collapsing, paying the debts, covering rent, and smoothing over every mistake. Without her, the cracks would finally show. She took a deep breath, the silence around her feeling heavier than ever. "They didn't lose me tonight," she murmured. "They lost their lifeline." From the outside, the Carter family looked picture perfect. Her father, Paul, owned 3 small diners around Tulsa, proud of the reputation he'd built from scratch. Her mother, Diane, had given up a career in banking to help him manage the business. And her younger brother, Ethan, was everyone's favorite, charming, careless, and always excused. Lena was the quiet one, the dreamer, the one who didn't fit the family mold. At dinner, her father would often say, "These restaurants are our legacy, Lena. You'll take over one day." She'd shake her head and smile politely. "Dad, I love design, not diners." Her father would sigh. "Design won't pay the bills." Ethan would laugh. "Yes, sis, nobody's hiring for paint and pillows." Diane never defended her. She just changed the subject, pretending not to notice the sting in Lena's eyes. By 17, Lena knew she wanted to build spaces that made people feel alive. When she told her parents she'd applied to an art school in Chicago, her father's reaction was brutal. "If you walk out that door for design, you do it alone," he said, his voice echoing through the kitchen. Her mother looked away, quietly folding napkins. "No tuition, no support," Paul added. Ethan smirked like he'd won something. Lena took a slow breath and said, "Then I'll do it alone." She worked nights waiting tables and tutoring kids, saving every dollar she could. The day her acceptance letter arrived, she cried in relief, not because she had their blessing but because she no longer needed it. Chicago was tough, but Lena refused to quit. She juggled 2 part-time jobs while studying full-time, sketching floor plans on napkins during her breaks. When her first student project got featured in a local exhibition, she called home. "Dad," she said brightly, "I works in a gallery this week." There was a pause. Then Paul's voice came through flat. "Good for you, kid. Don't forget real jobs still exist." Her mother texted later, "Proud of you." No call, no warmth, just 2 cold words that felt more like formality than love. But Lena smiled anyway. "Someday," she whispered, looking out at the Chicago skyline, "they'll see me for who I am." After 4 years in Chicago, Lena graduated with honors and returned to Tulsa with nothing but her sketchbooks and a few $100s. Her parents barely noticed when she moved back. The first time she visited her father's restaurant, he didn't even look up from the grill. "So," he said, flipping a burger, "back from your art vacation?" She smiled politely. "I started my own design business," she said. He chuckled. "People here need food, not fancy walls." Diane appeared from the back, adjusting her apron. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, handing Lena a small container of pie. "You look tired." "Just working hard," Lena replied softly. "You should come help out here instead," Diane said quickly, glancing at Paul. "You'd make your father happy." Lena smiled faintly. "Maybe one day, Mom," she lied, already knowing she wouldn't. The first year was rough. Lena rented a tiny workspace above a barber shop downtown. She couldn't afford new furniture, so she painted the old chairs herself and turned scraps of fabric into display samples. To attract clients, she offered free redesigns to local cafes and shops. "You don't even have to pay unless you love it," she'd tell hesitant owners. Her designs were bold, warm colors, natural textures, modern layouts that made even small spaces feel inviting. Slowly word spread. "You're that girl who fixed up Joe's cafe," one hotel manager said, offering her a contract. It wasn't much, but it was a start. She emailed pictures to her parents, proud. Her mom replied hours later. Looks nice, dear. Ethan's helping with the restaurants again. By 28, Lena had built a name for herself in Tulsa. Her designs began appearing in local magazines and business boomed. But every time she tried to share her success, her family brushed it off. Design's fine, Paul said one evening, but Ethan's learning real responsibility. Ethan grinned. Dad's teaching me the ropes. Maybe I'll run the whole thing soon. Lena forced a smile. That's great, she said quietly. Later that night she told herself it didn't matter. But deep down it did. She'd worked herself to exhaustion to make them proud, but no matter how high she climbed, she always stood in Ethan's shadow. Then came the night her mother fell sick. The diagnosis was serious and treatment costs were high. Her father called her, his tone cold but expectant. Your mom's treatments start Monday, he said. Insurance won't cover everything. Lena didn't hesitate. I'll take care of it, she said. She wired the money the next morning. Weeks later another call came. The restaurant's behind on rent, Paul said. We need help. Some more. Ethan called once too, not to say thanks but to ask for more. You're doing well, Lena, he said casually. You can handle it. You could work more, she replied sharply. I'm busy keeping this place running, he shot back. She bit her tongue. She'd heard that line her whole life. Months turned into years and the pattern never changed. Every time her phone rang, it meant someone needed something. When the restaurant's freezer broke, she paid for a new one. When a vendor threatened to sue, she bailed them out. When Ethan's failed business left him drowning in debt, she sent $30,000. You're an angel, Diane said softly on the phone. We'll make it up to you. But they never did. At family dinners, Paul would brag about Ethan's hard work, while ignoring Lena's achievements. You should be more like your brother, he told her once. He's loyal. Lena stared at her plate, whispering, loyal to what? One Christmas, Lena brought home a magazine that featured her latest hotel design on the cover. Look, she said, sliding it across the table. Her mother smiled faintly. That's nice, honey. Paul didn't even glance at it. Ethan's been putting in extra hours lately, he said proudly. I'm thinking about making him partner. Lena blinked. Partner, she repeated. I helped pay for everything that restaurant owns. You did what was right for family, Paul said firmly. Now it's time to let Ethan lead. Ethan smirked. Guess I'm the boss now. The room went silent. Lena folded the magazine and whispered, Merry Christmas, before quietly walking out. Outside, snow fell in slow, heavy flakes. Lena sat in her car, watching her breath fog up the window. Her hands shook as she held the steering wheel. They'll never see me, she whispered. No matter what I do. Her phone buzzed with a message from her mother. Don't be upset, sweetie. You know how your dad is. She stared at the text until her eyes blurred. Yeah, she said aloud. I do. That night she decided she was done seeking approval. But habits die hard, especially when the people who hurt you are family. A few months later, Lena had an idea that could finally bridge the gap. She had built a thriving business and wanted to expand into sustainable design, eco-friendly interiors for restaurants and hotels. It was innovative, profitable, and perfectly suited to the family business. Maybe she thought this could be their chance to work together. Dad, she said over the phone, can we meet this weekend? I have a proposal you'll want to hear. Fine, he said gruffly. Come by Sunday. Don't be late. That Sunday, Lena walked into the Carter family dining room with her laptop and neatly printed business plan. Paul sat at the head of the table, arms crossed. Diane hovered by the coffee pot, nervous. Ethan scrolled through his phone. So, Paul said, what's this idea? Lena smiled, steadying her voice. It's called Greenstone Designs, a sustainable interior design firm. We could partner with restaurants across Tulsa, reduce costs, and attract eco-conscious clients. Ethan snorted. So, recycled tables and pretty curtains? It's not just that, Lena said. It's the future of hospitality. A waste of money, Paul said bluntly. Hotels don't care about recycled wood. They care about cheap materials and fast results. Diane glanced at Lena but said nothing. Lena clenched her fists under the table. Dad, I'm not asking for a handout. It's an investment. I'll pay every dollar back with interest. You want our money, Ethan said, finally looking up. Maybe earn it in the restaurants first. Paul nodded. He's right. Family business comes first. Lena's voice shook, but she didn't back down. I've kept this family standing for years. I paid for Mom's treatment, your debts, and the restaurant's bills. The least you can do is listen. You chose your path, Paul said sharply. Now live with it. The words cut deep. He packed up her laptop, heart pounding. One day, she said quietly, standing, you'll wish you'd believed in me. No one stopped her as she walked out the door. Lena drove home that night in silence, gripping the steering wheel as tears blurred the city lights. She'd spent months building that proposal, not just as a business idea, but as a bridge to reconnect with her family. Yet they had dismissed it like it was nothing. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. You chose your path. Now live with it. She parked outside her apartment and sat there, the engine still running. Why do I keep trying? She whispered to herself. They'll never see me unless they need me. She wiped her eyes, turned off the car, and walked inside. On her kitchen counter sat the folder labeled Greenstone Designs. She stared at it for a long time, then whispered, maybe I don't need them to see me. Maybe I just need to see myself. A few days later, Lena received a message from her sister-in-law, Maya, Ethan's wife. Simply read, can we talk? It's important. Curious, Lena met her at a small cafe downtown. Maya looked nervous, her hands wrapped tightly around her coffee cup. What's going on? Lena asked gently. Maya glanced around before speaking. Lena, there's something you need to know. Ethan's been taking money from the restaurants. A lot of it. Lena froze. What do you mean? He's been skimming profits using fake invoices. I found receipts, thousands missing, Maya whispered. Your dad doesn't know. Lena's chest tightened. How long has this been happening? Maya hesitated. Years. Every time the restaurant ran short, Ethan blamed bad business. But he's been pocketing money behind everyone's back. Lena felt like the ground shifted under her. All those times she'd covered their bills, sent money to save the business, paid off debts. Ethan had been stealing the whole time. Why are you telling me this now? She asked, her voice trembling. Maya's eyes welled up. Because it's wrong, Lena. You've done everything for this family and they keep using you. Ethan says he deserves it because he's carrying the legacy. But he's ruining everything. Lena took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. I need proof, she said quietly. Maya nodded. I'll send you the receipts tonight. But please don't tell him I told you. That evening, Lena sat in her living room as emails from Maya arrived. Dozens of photos of receipts, bank transfers, and fake supplier accounts. The numbers didn't lie. Ethan had stolen thousands. Unbelievable, she muttered, scrolling through the evidence. Her phone buzzed again, this time from her father. Family dinner tomorrow, the message read. Be on time. A wave of anger rose in her chest. She almost replied, I'm done with your dinners, but instead she typed, I'll be there. She needed to hear it from them. She needed to see how deep the lies went. The next evening, Lena walked into her parents' house, her pulse pounding. Laughter drifted from the dining room. Ethan was pouring wine for Paul, smiling like nothing was wrong. Diane greeted her softly. You made it, sweetheart. Wouldn't miss it, Lena said, forcing a smile. She sat across from Ethan, her jaw tight. How's business? She asked casually. Better, Ethan said quickly. I've been putting in extra hours. Lena leaned back, eyes steady. Funny. Because I heard some of those hours include skimming from the restaurants. The room fell silent. Paul frowned. What are you talking about? Ask your son, Lena said, sliding her phone across the table with the receipts open. Ethan's smile vanished. You've been snooping through my stuff? He snapped. Those are lies. Don't insult me, Ethan. I have the records, Lena said firmly. Paul grabbed the phone, scrolling through the screenshots. This can't be real, he muttered. Diane looked between them, pale. Ethan, tell me this isn't true. Ethan stood up suddenly, his voice rising. I did what I had to. Dad barely pays me and Lena acts like she's better than all of us. She has money, she doesn't need it. Paul slammed his hand on the table. Enough, he roared. The sound echoed through the house. But instead of turning to his son, he looked at Lena. You had no right to dig into this, he said coldly. You're trying to destroy this family. Lena stared at her father, disbelief flooding her face. Destroy the family? Dad, Ethan has been stealing from you for years and I've been paying the price. You don't talk to me like that, Paul barked. You've always thought you're smarter than everyone else. But this family stays together no matter what. Together. Lena repeated bitterly. You mean protecting Ethan no matter how much damage he does? Diane's eyes filled with tears. Lena, please, she whispered. Don't make this worse. Lena stood trembling. I've already made it better. For once, someone's telling the truth. She grabbed her bag and walked out, her father's voice echoing after her. You're no longer welcome here. That night, Lena sat on her couch, the silence thick as her phone buzzed again. A text from her mother appeared on the screen. Don't call or come over. We're done. Her throat tightened. So that's it, she whispered. Her hands shook as she typed 2 words. Got it. She stared at the message before pressing send. Then she opened her banking app and canceled every automatic payment she'd set up for them. The restaurant bills, her mother's medical expenses, Ethan's loans. It took less than 5 minutes to erase years of financial support. When she was done, she sat back and whispered, You wanted me gone. You've got it. By midnight, the messages poured in. Her phone flashed nonstop. Calls from her father, missed calls from her mother, and angry voicemails from Ethan. You think you can just walk away? Ethan yelled in one recording. You're selfish. Lena laughed bitterly. Selfish, she murmured. I paid your debts, Ethan. Her mother's messages came next. How could you do this? After everything I've been through? Another said, You're abandoning your family when we need you most. Lena closed her eyes. I've already given you everything, she whispered. All you've done is take. The next morning, Paul called again. Lena let it ring twice, then picked up. His voice was sharp and commanding. You need to fix this, he said. Your mother's treatment isn't cheap and the restaurants can't survive without you. You mean without my money, Lena replied, her tone calm but firm. I've helped you for years. I'm done. You'll regret this, Paul said harshly. You're tearing this family apart. No, Dad, she said softly. The lies did that. She ended the call and placed her phone face down. For the first time in years, the silence felt peaceful. Lena looked out the window and whispered, Maybe losing them is how I finally find myself. A week passed and Lena ignored every call and message. The silence from her family felt both strange and freeing. Then one afternoon she got a text from her mother. Your father wants to meet. Just one last time. Lena hesitated. Her instinct said no, but something inside her needed closure. She agreed to meet them at a cafe downtown, the same one where she had signed her first design contract years ago. When she walked in, her father, mother, and Ethan were already seated. The air was thick with tension. Diane looked tired, her eyes red from crying. Paul's expression was hard, unreadable. Ethan avoided her gaze completely. Lena sat down, her back straight. So, she said calmly, what did you want to talk about? Paul cleared his throat. We need your help, he began. The restaurants are in trouble. Vendors are threatening to sue. Lena nodded slowly. Because Ethan's been stealing from you, she said. Ethan slammed his hand on the table. You can't prove that. I can, Lena said, her voice steady. She pulled a small folder from her bag and placed it on the table. Inside were copies of the receipts Maya had sent her. Paul flipped through them, his face darkening. You did this, he hissed at Ethan. Dad, I was going to fix it. Ethan snapped. You wouldn't understand. Understand what? Lena shot back. That you've been using everyone and blaming me when things fall apart? Ethan's jaw tightened. You think you're better than us. You walked away from this family. No, Lena said quietly. You all walked away from me. Diane reached across the table, tears in her eyes. Lena, please. Don't let this break us apart. Lena looked at her mother's trembling hand but didn't take it. Mom, she said softly, you sent me a message that said, we're done. That wasn't Ethan. That was you. Diane's lip quivered. I didn't mean it. I was scared. You meant it, Lena replied gently. You just didn't expect me to listen. Paul leaned forward, frustration flashing in his eyes. You're still part of this family. You owe us that much. Lena's calm didn't falter. I owe you nothing but the truth, she said. You taught me loyalty means silence and sacrifice. But loyalty doesn't mean being used. I've paid your bills, fixed your mistakes, and covered for your son's lies. I'm done. Ethan stood, voice rising. You'll regret this, Lena. When we lose everything, it'll be your fault. Lena smiled sadly. No, Ethan. You lost everything the day you stopped taking responsibility. The room went still. Paul looked between his children, the weight of years of favoritism finally catching up to him. You think you're better than us, he muttered again, but his tone had softened. No, Lena said, standing. I just finally realized I don't need your approval to be enough. She picked up her bag and looked at her mother one last time. I loved you, Mom. I really did. But I can't keep loving people who only love me when I'm useful. With that, she walked out, leaving the folder of proof behind. Outside, the air was cool and quiet. Lena took a deep breath, the smell of rain lingering in the air. For the first time in years, she felt light. She didn't know what would happen next with her family, but she knew one thing for certain: she wouldn't go back. That night, she sat in her apartment, the city lights glowing through her window. She opened her laptop and emailed her attorney about the documents, officially separating herself from the family business. This is my fresh start, she whispered. Months later, news spread that the Carter restaurants had gone bankrupt. Ethan's theft came to light publicly and several vendors filed lawsuits. Paul and Diane sold their house to cover the damages. Maya divorced Ethan and moved away. Lena heard the updates through friends but didn't reach out. Instead, she focused on rebuilding her own design firm, expanding it across Oklahoma and beyond. One morning, she stood in her new downtown studio, sunlight pouring through the tall windows, and smiled. The sign above the door read, Lena Carter Interiors, Spaces That Heal. Life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. Lena spent her days mentoring young designers and creating sustainable spaces that reflected her values. Occasionally, she'd glance at old family photos tucked in a drawer, reminders of a past she no longer needed to fix. One afternoon, she received an email from her mother. It was short. I'm sorry. We were wrong about you. I hope you're happy. Lena read it twice, tears stinging her eyes, then typed back, I am. I hope you find peace too. She hit send, leaned back, and smiled. Years of pain had led to one powerful truth. Letting go didn't mean hate. It meant freedom. Lena finally learned that family isn't defined by blood, but by respect. She'd spent too long trying to earn love that came with conditions. Now she gave herself the love she'd been searching for. Standing by the window of her thriving firm, she whispered to her reflection, You made it. And for the first time in her life, she truly believed it. Moral lesson. Respect starts with self-worth. Family should never be a chain that drains you. It should lift you. If loving them means losing yourself, it's okay to walk away. True peace begins when you stop begging to be seen and start honoring yourself. Thanks you for watching, and please remember to tell us where you are watching from today. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more of this.